Hello everyone, welcome back to Lab4crypto. So are we in a bear market? Basically, it's the most asked question that I got the last couple of weeks. So I'm gonna explain my take regarding the bear market, what price someone can expect to be the bottom for Bitcoin. And of course, I'm not gonna say any price without showing how I came up to this value. Again, it's not going to be a financial advice. It's just going to be just pure maths, let's say, on the expectation of the lowest value of Bitcoin, even if we are in the 4-year cycle or if we are not. So I wanted to build an agnostic model which does not care if it's a bear market or a bull market. Just give us a number about the floor price of BTC. So um, in respective of if we are in a 4-year cycle or not, to just build your DCA strategy accordingly. Because in the end, the most amount of money are not made in bull runs, actually are made in bear markets. Or when the market, there is a fear, there is blood in the streets, let's say. So instead of trying to argue if we are in a 4-year cycle or if we are not, there are people that are believe that it was random, the fact that we got a 4-year cycle expectation recently. And what I mean by that, people usually Bitcoin tops in Q4 of the post-halving year. And basically, Bitcoin did that again just 6 days after we enter the Q4. And usually we don't get it there. Usually we get it in November, in December, and just for 6 days, let's say, people of the 4-year cycle said that they won. And in the end, as someone which is interested in the crypto market, you don't care about that anyway. What you care is when the price of BTC is very extended and it's time for you to exit the market, and when it's really undervalued and therefore you should consider accumulate. Of course, we had the 10th of October liquidation event, which basically gave us a sharp deleveraging effect, which we are still feeling the ripples of it, and I will explain why. We are in a place now which every time we get an upside move, immediately we get rejected. And to be honest, after the recent post from the owner of the OKX exchange, I get the feeling that when the mistake that happened in Binance algorithm, let's say, which of course they're gonna say that did not affect, and maybe it did not, no one knows, but in the end, what we care is that that day an issue happened there, which Binance has the biggest volume in the industry by far. And as other exchanges also, they use liquidity from Binance and so on, there is a connection between various market makers, let's say, with Binance. And in the end, when that deleveraging event happens, and you can see that some altcoins even went to zero, market makers, in my opinion, they were forced to accumulate some coins to have liquidity from people to be able to trade. And therefore, on their balance sheet, they had a lot of coins which they didn't want it anyway. And then they are forced to get rid of them as prices are starting to recover. And that resulted in the constant reduction of the prices basically of BTC and altcoins. And that for me makes sense because in the end, if you are not allowed to have, let's say, on your balance sheet 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 coins, in the end, you need to start reducing your position and have your balance sheet clean again. Anyhow, our position as, let's say, people that we are interested in the crypto market, we are interested to be investors or whatever, we want to know if that can be our advantage or not. Because this time, Bitcoin basically topped in apathy. And as I said, for me, if we got below the 50-week moving average, that means that we're going to continue to see a downward trend. Again, we came to test it, we got rejected. So of course, people had the chance to exit at around 100K. And now we are in a position which we want to find if we found the bottom. So now for me, I wanted to build something, and this is basically the Python code that I have built it, which is going to tell me if it's a good time to accumulate BTC or not. And let's have a look first on the algorithm that I have built, which basically is a Ransac algorithm, which basically what it does, it tries to find the floor of Bitcoin. So the equation that better describes the bottom values of BTC. And you will see that the algorithm, I didn't choose these values. So the Ransac algorithm, what it does basically, it just draw 2 points to find a line. You tell them that Bitcoin follows a power law, because it does, of course, at least with the values that we have until now, the last 15 years. And just draws a line and tries to find the line that better describes the 2 points. And also you put a filter which says that I want, for example, 95% of the data to be above this line, or 99% of the data to be above this line. And you will see I did both. We have the line that 95% of the price points of Bitcoin are above this line. So this is the fit, the red line. And this, the blue, is the price of BTC. I have it in interactive form, which we're going to see in a bit, but I want to explain first what you are seeing. And if we want to be more strict, we can find the line that 99% of the data are above this line. So that means 99% of the time, if you accumulated BTC close to the line, you did amazingly well, and you basically created generational wealth. But now let's go to the data. Of course, the training of the model was from 2014 and back. So the model does not know anything about the price of BTC from the 1st of January 2024 and onwards. So in that way, we avoided, let's say, overfitting. These basically are the inliers because we put a small threshold. So what I have done, I said that, okay, use the points that are just 1% above and below the fit line. That it's how the model chooses the best line that describes the data. But let's now go to the important part. This now uses the 99% of the data points, the price points of Bitcoin, lie above the fit line, which is the red line. What that is telling us is that BTC today, the bottom price can be 54.9K. And if we are a 4-year cycle, guys, and we think that Bitcoin bottom will occur in October, and we are just waiting and we don't want to touch BTC now, that value in the end will end up to be 68, which imagine that is not far from the value that we are now. So in the end, it's good for you to even start accumulating now and to not wait October 6 of 2026 to start the accumulating. If we go to the interactive plot, you will see, let's use the data that, which is, just a moment, from the training and onwards to see. So now if BTC drops to 55K, it will be an accumulation of a lifetime, because the red line you will see increases with time. So that is why on the 6th of October, let's say, and the reason that I'm using 6 is because it's going to be 1 year after Bitcoin top. It's at 68.198. So for me, in short, if I'm going to use this algorithm, which I think it's really robust, if Bitcoin goes at values of 55 and above, it's going to be an accumulation of a lifetime. Of course, again, it's not financial advice. It's just the algorithm that is telling you what it's best for you based on maths. And you will see this is the red line. So at any point you accumulated Bitcoin at this red line, you can think, did I did well? And of course, you will see that Bitcoin price stays at this level very, very few months or days. And therefore, you'll do amazing well if you accumulated at these values. So for me now, with 99%, let's say, if you want to think it as a probability, if BTC goes to this value, which it's 54.8 and above, it's time for you to start thinking to accumulate, let's say, massive amounts. Again, not financial advice. I don't want to give you, to tell you what you do, what you're going to do, but I want to give you the data to decide. If we want to be not that stringent and we want to, let's say, only say, okay, I want to be 95% of the time correct and not all of the time. So this line, again, the fit line is telling you that 95% of the time, if you accumulate it on this line, the fit line, the Ransac one, you did very well. And there was 5% of the time that price dipped a little bit below this value. And if we see recently, basically Bitcoin exactly bounced on this line on February 5th. So that one is telling you that BTC will not come again to the 60K region, and therefore the bottom is probably already in. But that model has, like, let's say a 5% chance that it's wrong. It's not like the other one, which is 99%. Therefore, if you accumulate between 55 to 65, let's say 63, 64, you're most probably gonna do much better than most traders and, let's say, investors in the crypto market. So that is why I wanted to give you these two models so you can see with your own eyes, and I explain you what I have built so you will be able to see it. So this is basically the model with 99% probability, and this one is with 95. I will also write a blog for it. And also, if you want me to build one for Ethereum, just write me in the comments and I will build one, because I think in the end, the coins that are going to do well next cycle is going to be BTC, Ethereum, privacy coins, and DeFi and decentralized exchange coins like Hype, like Aster, I think. But as I tell to people, we need first to walk and then run. So if BTC does not bounce and move to a new cycle, to new bull run, let's say, the probability of the altcoins doing well is almost zero. And my rule of thumb is that I do not touch any altcoins if the altcoin season index does not stay above 75 for 2 weeks and more. So focus on BTC for now, because your altcoin has almost zero chance to run alone. It's going to be sometimes that you have some extreme cases which you can see an altcoin run, but most of the time they're going to immediately sell. And we saw that recently, for example, with Uniswap, was a coin that is a DeFi coin which BlackRock said that they even accumulated some recently because check this week. So they said that they have accumulated some Uniswap for their tokenized fund. The price moved up almost 40% up, and then immediately it was sold. So if we want to see it in a 3-hour candle, so you will see. So that was the announcement. Immediately went from $3.2 all the way up to 4.52, and then immediately retraced. This is what happens in bear markets. And also I think that was opportunity for market makers to also remove some of the damage, as I said, from the deleveraging effect that occurred on October 10th. Now let's have a look on two things that I wanted to mention. First is the Bitcoin supply and profit and loss. This is another and easy way when you're going to see the prices, let's say, of 55 or 60 that we told from the Ransac algorithm, that when the supply and profit and loss basically converge, so when these two lines come really close, usually marks the bottom, the cycle bottom. So this is again in 2018. This happened again in 2022. And even if you go to the previous cycle, it's the same thing. And now you will see that we are really close. These lines are really close, as you'll see. And that amplifies our thesis that BTC bottom is really close and is basically, if we want to say, if it drops today or in, let's say, March, that more people think that Bitcoin will drop because of the stock market expected drop. If we go on March with the 99% model, in March, let's go to the 1st of March. So the bottom can be between 55.8 until 57.4, roughly. That is why, personally, between these values, I will enter extremely heavily. I already accumulate on 60, 15% of my capital, and also exceeded a little bit on 70 because the move was extreme. But the reason for that is I just wanted to use some profits to accumulate more BTC. And of course, you can always see my moves on Telegram, which I show them. But in the end, you're gonna try and build a portfolio which is within your risk tolerance. So also, one promising thing that I noticed today, it was that we're starting to see retail actually coming a little bit back. You will see that from November 2025, the addresses that hold between 0.1 to 1 BTC are continue going up, which that is encouraging. At least people are starting to get more interested in Bitcoin as it gets cheaper. And you will see that that even increased even more when we went to values close to 63 and 60 and so on. But of course, this is early stages, and also addresses between 100 to 1K, we saw a massive jump, and now they're basically consolidating. and addresses between 1K to 10K BTC, again, they are basically flat. We had an increase that started on January 9th, but it's which mostly these are whales and institutions, and therefore they move in massive scale when they're gonna do a move. But retail, which is between 0.1 to 1, you will see that are keep going up. So that is encouraging, but still in the end, our job is to try to accumulate BTC as cheaply as possible. And in the end, using, for example, the Bitcoin supply and profit and loss, it's going to be helpful. We also built a bottom range estimation in the platform, but this Ransac algorithm, which even chooses the points randomly, so you will see the green points is the points that are close to the line that the PC draw by its own. And that's why it's called inliers. And you will see are capturing the bottom of BTC very good. And that is not any human going picking the dates that mostly fit the bottom for BTC. Therefore, for me, as I said, values between the values that we set, let's go between, between what is today here, between 55 roughly and above, and as close to 55, it's accumulation of a lifetime. Again, this is not financial advice. I hope you like the video. I'm gonna keep you updating on the on my bottom range, let's say, model, which I think is gonna hold really well, as you can see on your own. For the last 14 years, it did almost perfectly, and hope you're gonna get back your interest, because I understand that most people are frustrated with the performance of Bitcoin, especially compared to commodities. But do not forget that things can move fast, and it's better for you to start and having a DCA strategy and get positions as we move through these months. Either you want to call it bear market, which you can perfectly can, or even if you are not a believer of the 4-year cycle, in the end, you don't care. You want to find the floor for BTC and start accumulating in either scenario. Again, I hope you like the video. Please give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. And until next time, bye-bye.